All right. Hello there, and a massive welcome to all you project control professionals from Kent Business College. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a proper sticky wicket with a project? You know, a right old pickle, where it feels like everything that could possibly go wrong, well, it does? If you're nodding along, you're absolutely in the right place.
Right, let's meet our hero for today, Arthur. Arthur's a project manager, a good one, but his beautifully crafted plan, the one with all the lovely Gantt charts, well, it's going a bit pear-shaped. Deadlines are flying by, the client changes their mind more than the weather, and his team's morale, let's just say it's lower than a snake's belly in a pothole. Does any of that ring a bell? So today, we're going to follow Arthur's journey and see exactly how he turned that project with a soggy bottom into a certified showstopper. We'll look at the pickle he was in, the whole Agile mindset he had to adopt, the manifesto that basically became his new recipe, how his team started sprinting towards the goal, and finally, how he managed to scale the whole thing up for a massive success. Okay, let's dive right into that pickle. Arthur's world was just pure, unadulterated chaos. Honestly, him trying to stick to his original, super rigid plan was a bit like trying to bake a perfect Victoria sponge inside a tent during a hurricane. It just was not going to happen. You see, he was getting hammered with demands for frequent deliveries and almost instant feedback. And what does that mean? It means his processes had to change constantly. Priorities were being juggled every single day. In that kind of environments, a plan that's set in stone isn't a strength, is it? No, it's an anchor, and it's dragging the whole project right down to the bottom. So Arthur had this big aha moment. He realized he didn't just need a better plan. He needed a completely different way of thinking. And that, my friends, is where the Agile mindset comes in. Think of it like this. It's the difference between having a map and having a compass. A map is rigid, it's fixed. But a compass, the Agile mindset, that lets you find your way no matter how much the landscape changes around you. For Arthur, seeing this simple phrase was a total revelation. It's the opening line to the Agile principles. And it signals a discovery, doesn't it? It says, hey, we found a better way of working. And it was found by people who were in the exact same pickle he was. It's like an invitation to a whole new perspective. And this really gets to the heart of it. This is that fundamental shift in thinking. Agile isn't saying that things like plans and tools and documents are worthless, not at all. But what it is saying is that we should value the stuff on the left more. People talking to each other over rigid processes, a product that actually works over mountains of documentation, working with your customer instead of arguing over a contract, and, crucially, being able to respond to change rather than blindly following a plan that's clearly leading you off a cliff. So, to put it simply, the whole game is about rebalancing your priorities. For Arthur's team, this was a game changer. They stopped hiding behind emails and process documents and actually started talking to each other. They focused on delivering something real, something tangible, and on being nimble enough to handle whatever curveballs the client threw their way. Okay, so if the mindset is the new way of baking, you can think of the Agile Manifesto as the recipe book. It gives you 12 key principles that guide you on how to actually put that mindset into practice. It's all about turning that philosophy into real, concrete action. Now, we won't go through all 12 right now, but just look at some of these gems. Satisfy the customer through early delivery. Welcome change. Trust your team. Keep it simple. You see, these weren't just fluffy, nice-sounding ideas. For Arthur, they were a practical, step-by-step guide out of the chaos. It gave his team permission to work in a way that just made sense. And the practical impact here is crystal clear, isn't it? It's all about keeping the customer, the judges, if you will, happy by letting them see and taste the cake as you go. For Arthur's project, it meant trusting his talented bakers to figure out the best way to get it done rather than him dictating every single tiny step from on high. The proof, as they say, is in the pudding. Right then, this is where the theory gets real, where the rubber hits the road. So how did Arthur's team actually start delivering stuff? Well, they broke down all the work into these short, focused bursts of activity called sprints. You can think of it as a series of weekly baking challenges, instead of trying to tackle one giant, terrifying wedding cake project all at once. So what is a sprint? It's simply a set period of time, usually somewhere between 1 and 4 weeks, where the team commits to finishing a specific chunk of work. Now, the key phrase here is time-boxed. That fixed length is what brings a predictable, reliable rhythm to all the chaos. And sprints aren't just about going fast, they are about learning.
Every single one is a chance to build something, get feedback on it, and then adjust your course. And every single sprint follows this lovely, simple, repeatable cycle. First, you plan what you can realistically get done. Then you have a quick daily check-in, we call it the daily scrum, just to make sure everyone's aligned. Then you get your head down and do the work. At the end, you hold a review to show off what you've built and get that crucial feedback. And finally, you have a retrospective to ask the most important question: how can we do even better next time? You can really see how every single step here is a chance for communication, for inspection, and for adaptation. This continuous cycle, this loop, is the engine that drives Agile forward. It's exactly what took Arthur's project from a total standstill to a state of constant, predictable progress. Now, the approach Arthur's team used is called iteration-based Agile, and you've probably heard of its most popular framework, Scrum. It is all about that fixed rhythm, delivering a valuable piece of the final puzzle at the end of every single cycle. It's designed to create predictability in what is otherwise a completely unpredictable world. But there is another flavor of Agile out there called flow-based Agile, with Kanban being the most famous example. Here, instead of having those fixed sprints, the focus is on a smooth, continuous flow of work. Think less of a weekly baking competition and more like a bustling bakery that's just focused on getting individual orders out the door as efficiently as possible. So what are the big differences then? Well, Scrum, being iteration-based, is absolutely brilliant when you need that predictable heartbeat of delivery. On the other hand, Kanban, which is flow-based, is fantastic for teams that deal with a huge variety of incoming tasks, like a support team or an operations team. So, one is all about rhythm, the other is all about a continuous stream.
By now, Arthur's team was a well-oiled machine. But his project was huge, right? He had several teams all working on different bits and pieces. So how on earth do you make sure that all the separate cakes and pastries and breads come together to form one cohesive, magnificent banquet at the end?
Well, you use a clever technique called the Scrum of Scrums. Basically, an ambassador from each of the individual Scrum teams gets together for their own Scrum meeting to coordinate. And listen, this is not just another boring meeting for the sake of it. This is the central nervous system for the entire project, making sure all the separate parts can communicate and move together as one. And the benefits are just enormous. It stops teams from accidentally treading on each other's toes or undoing each other's work. It flags up problems and dependencies really early on, before they become massive fires. And it gives managers and stakeholders a brilliant, high-level view of how the entire project is moving along, not just one tiny piece of it. So in short, the Scrum of Scrums is that essential coordination layer that allows Agile to scale up to bigger projects. It's what ensures all the moving parts of a large project are moving in harmony, and it prevents total chaos when you've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
And that really was Arthur's journey. By embracing that Agile mindset, by using the Manifesto as his guide, adopting the rhythm of sprints, and coordinating everything with the Scrum of Scrums, he turned a potential disaster into a project that was delivered on time, absolutely delighted the client, and you know what? It was actually a pleasure for the team to work on.
So my question to you is this. Now that you've seen the recipe, looking at everything we've covered, from valuing people over processes to delivering work frequently, what is the one principle you could take away from this and actually try to apply in your own world tomorrow? Because that right there is how the journey starts. Cheerio!